There's this huge, often invisible force that's just draining profits from companies as we speak. It's the true cost of quality. So today, we're going to build a really clear path from the problems we're all facing now to the solutions of tomorrow. And we'll do it using insights from a huge ASQ research report and a really forward-thinking how-to guide.
So let me just start with a question. What if a massive chunk of your company's costs, maybe up to 90%, was completely hidden from you? When we're talking about the cost of poor quality, well, that's not just a what if. For most companies, it's a very real and very dangerous reality.
And this gets us to what experts call the iceberg problem, which is a core idea in both of our sources today. The costs you can actually see, the scrap, the rework, the warranty claims, that's just the tip. But lurking right below the surface are these enormous, unmeasured costs, lost production capacity, a tarnished brand, and all the customers you'll never even get a chance to win back. That's the stuff that can really sink you. So, okay, how are companies actually dealing with this iceberg? To figure that out, we're going to turn to the ASQ research report. They surveyed hundreds of global organizations and, well, the findings are pretty sobering.
Okay, get ready for a few quick but kind of shocking numbers. First up, only 30% of companies feel like they're effectively using their quality data. Think about that. We're all collecting mountains of data, but only about a third of us are actually using it to make a real impact. There's this huge gap between collecting data and actually doing something meaningful with it.
And it doesn't stop there. Get this. A mere 11% are setting cost of quality goals across the whole organization. For almost 90% of companies, quality cost is just, well, it's somebody else's problem. It's not a shared responsibility from the top floor all the way down to the shop floor.
So what's the biggest roadblock here? Is it the tech? The methods? Nope. The number one barrier that everyone pointed to is a lack of leadership support. Without real buy-in from the top, this data makes it pretty clear that even the best quality initiatives, they're just set up to fail.
And this all comes together in this quality maturity chart. Just look at that huge blue slice. Nearly 2/3 of companies are stuck in the proactive stage. Yeah, they're fixing problems, but they're not really getting ahead of them. And see that tiny, tiny yellow sliver for predictive? That's where the real game-changing advantage is. But almost nobody is there yet.
That predictive level is the perfect pivot point for us. Let's shift gears from the current reality and talk about the incredible vision laid out in the how-to book, a future that's powered by AI and truly intelligent systems.
Wow, the contrast here couldn't be more stark. On one side, you've got the ASQ report showing companies stuck using manual methods, some even seeing technology as a barrier. But on the other side, the how-to book is all in on integrating AI to create this intelligent quality system. It's literally the difference between looking in the rearview mirror versus having a GPS that sees traffic jams 5 miles down the road.
So what does that AI-powered future actually look like? Well, it's all about breaking down those data silos, right? And then using AI to do the heavy lifting, like automatically categorizing costs or spotting these complex patterns a human could never see. This lets you make a fundamental shift. You move from just reacting to failures to actually predicting them, and then getting tailored insights to the right person at exactly the right time.
Okay, so we've seen the messy reality, and we've seen this incredible vision for the future. The big question is, how do we get from here to there? Let's talk about bridging that gap by putting together the practical advice from both sources into a real, actionable plan.
And the experts from the ASQ report, they give us our first step in really plain English. Start simple. Don't try to boil the ocean. You've got to focus on the most visible quality costs first. That's how you build momentum and prove that this whole approach is worth it.
And what does simple and visible actually mean in practice? Well, the how-to book gives us the exact same starting list. We're talking about the obvious stuff: scrap, rework, reinspection, and warranty claims. These are the hard numbers that your finance department probably already has a handle on. This table just lays the gap out perfectly. On the left, you have the best practices from the how-to book: comprehensive tracking, investing in prevention, using predictive analytics. And then on the right, well, that's the tough reality from the ASQ data. People aren't using their data, tracking is all over the place, and there's this massive blind spot around the most damaging stuff, like recalls. This right here, this is the gap we need to close.
Okay, so understanding the gap is one thing, but actually closing it is the whole game. So let's shift our focus to your strategic next move and how we turn all this insight into concrete, actionable steps you can take. If your organization is just getting started on this journey, here's your 3-step launch plan. First, build a solid foundation of understanding.
Second, run a really targeted pilot program on those visible costs we talked about. And third, and this is arguably the most important, you have to get that executive sponsorship. Remember, it's the #1 barrier, so you have to make it your #1 priority.
Now, for the leaders out there, or for anyone who needs to convince one, the ASQ research uncovered this really powerful idea they call the investment paradox, and it perfectly explains that frustrating feeling of pouring money into a problem but not seeing any real results.
Just look at these two bars. They're nearly identical. 87% of companies say they're making big investments in quality, and yet 89% are still reporting a significant financial hit from poor quality. The takeaway here is crystal clear. We're spending the money, but it's not effective. It's just investment without a real strategy. So if you're a senior leader, here is exactly how you break that paradox. You have to demand visibility with integrated dashboards. You have to cascade accountability by setting goals at every single level, which is a huge opportunity since only 11% are doing it now. You have to frame prevention as an investment with a clear ROI, not just another cost. And finally, you have to make this a normal part of your business rhythm, not some one-off special project. And to guide this entire journey, here's maybe the simplest way to think about the two resources we've been talking about today. The ASQ Research Report, that's your compass. It tells you where you are, where your peers are, and what obstacles are just over the horizon. The how-to book, on the other hand, is your roadmap. It gives you the turn-by-turn directions to actually build your system and get to your destination. You really do need both to succeed.
So let's just end with this. The cost of poor quality, it's not optional. Your organization is already paying it. You're paying it in wasted materials, you're paying it in lost time, and you're paying it in eroding customer trust. The only real choice you have is whether you're going to keep paying the price of the problem or if you're finally going to start investing in the solution.